Welcome to the channel, where today we dive deep into one of the most chilling mysteries in American numismatic history, the 1965 quarter dollar, a seemingly ordinary coin that has become the center of controversy, confusion, and millions of dollars in unexpected value, and it all starts with one haunting question: what if a small, overlooked mistake made it the most valuable coin ever struck? Imagine holding a piece of pocket change so rare, so misunderstood, and so powerful in its symbolism that it causes collectors, historians, and even government officials to whisper its name with a mixture of awe and fear. The 1965 Washington quarter, minted during a time of economic upheaval, political unrest, and a fundamental shift in the very materials that compose the U.S. currency. A coin born at the intersection of necessity and haste, forged not just in metal but in confusion, transition, and secrets that refused to die. Because while most Americans believed the era of silver coinage ended in 1964, a small number of 1,965 quarters somehow, impossibly, were struck in 90% silver planchets, a reality that should not have existed, that violates every official record and mint directive, and yet examples have surfaced, analyzed, confirmed, and authenticated, sending shockwaves through the collecting world and igniting a decades-long hunt for a coin that was never meant to be a ghost issue whose mere existence suggests catastrophic oversight or deliberate subterfuge, as if someone inside the U.S. Mint, or perhaps a group working in secrecy, either refused to obey the directive to switch to clad composition or smuggled out silver planchets for their own purpose. And this isn't just conspiracy theory or collector fantasy, because these silver 1965 quarters have been graded by top-tier services, sold at major auction houses for tens of thousands of dollars, and more importantly, carry forensic evidence of being struck on leftover 1964 silver blanks, complete with weight, ring tone, and metal composition anomalies that defy logic, leading to feverish debate among experts about whether these coins are honest errors or covert relics of rogue mint behavior. And that debate only intensifies when you realize the switch from silver to clad in 1965 was rushed and poorly implemented, with the mint under extreme pressure to save silver, restore public trust, and stabilize a coin shortage crisis, a perfect storm that may have opened the door for errors, or even for manipulation, because in the chaos of transition, many coins were struck on old planchets, including dimes and quarters, and while most were caught, a few, a terrifyingly small few, escaped, entering circulation like time bombs, unnoticed until a sharp-eyed collector decades later realized that his quarter didn't just sound different, it was different, heavier, shinier, cooler to the touch, and upon testing, revealed the impossible, a 1965 dated silver quarter, and with that discovery, a Pandora's box opened, because the existence of one meant there could be others, perhaps hundreds, perhaps thousands, hidden in old jars, forgotten change drawers, bank rolls, or even in the collections of people who assume it's just another transitional year coin. And so began the obsession, the relentless, sleepless pursuit of 1965 silver quarters, with collectors scouring estate sales, coin shows, junk silver piles, and forgotten bank vaults, chasing rumors and chasing legends, some reporting bizarre finds, others running into dead ends, while conspiracy theorists began questioning whether certain mint employees had orchestrated a scheme to keep silver coinage alive for personal gain, or even left behind these coins as a numismatic message, a silent rebellion against bureaucratic directives. And the mystery deepens when you realize that the mint never officially acknowledged the existence of these errors until forced to buy auction records and third-party authentication, choosing instead to bury the story, refuse interviews, and quietly redact internal memos related to 1965 silver planchets, feeding the notion that this wasn't just an accident, it was a cover-up. And every uncovered specimen adds fuel to that fire, because they appear in different states, in different conditions, with no consistent die markers or origin story, as if they were struck across multiple facilities or deliberately scattered to confuse, and each time one is found, it sells for more, $7,000, $12,000, $18,000, and in one private sale, over $30,000, not because of the silver content alone, but because each one is a tangible defiance of history, a glitch in the matrix of U.S. coinage, and collectors have become obsessed, some even ruining relationships, quitting jobs, or spending entire inheritances chasing the thrill of discovering one more silver 1965 quarter. And the stories that surround them are just as incredible, like the man who claims he found one in his grandfather's World War II footlocker, or the woman who unknowingly spent one on a cup of coffee in 1987 and only realized its value 30 years later after seeing a YouTube video, or the teenage metal detectorist who dug one up from the dirt beneath an abandoned service station and changed his family's fortune forever. And the more you hear, the more questions rise. How many are still out there? Were they struck intentionally or by accident? Could this be the single greatest mint mystery of the 20th century? Why did the mint remain silent for so long? Are there other years, 1966, 1967, with similar secrets buried beneath their clad surfaces? Are there 1965 quarters struck in pure silver but never found, perhaps hidden in hoards, sealed in bank vaults, or lost in sunken treasure shipments? And as the legend grows, so does the market, with collectors paying massive premiums for any 1965 quarter with unusual weight, reeded edge anomalies, luster differences, or non-magnetic properties, sparking a flood of submissions to grading companies and overwhelming demand for advanced metallurgical testing. And through it all, experts, authors, and coin historians debate what this coin truly represents. Is it a symbol of government fallibility, a miracle of survival, or a deliberate act of rebellion by those inside the mint who knew that history was being erased and wanted to leave behind a silver fingerprint? And as you sit there now, perhaps even holding a 1965 quarter in your hand, ask yourself, have you ever checked its weight? Have you dropped it on a hard surface to hear its tone? Could you, by pure luck or fate, be holding one of the rarest coins ever created, a mistake so valuable and so legendary that it transforms an ordinary moment into a life-changing discovery? Because the story of the 1965 silver quarter is far from over, new finds continue to surface, new questions continue to emerge, and the hunt only grows more frenzied as each passing year sees fewer and fewer coins remaining from an era now half a century gone, and yet, this one coin, this one year, refuses to die, continues to whisper its mystery, daring you to listen, daring you to search, and daring you to believe that a simple piece of change could be the key to unlocking a secret history buried in plain sight. So if you're ready to join that hunt, if you're ready to become part of the legend, make sure to like, subscribe, and keep watching, because the next twist in this coin story might be in your pocket right now. Next 1971_D quarter, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and today, we're diving deep into the mesmerizing mystery of a coin you've probably held in your hand without ever knowing it could be worth a fortune. The 1971D quarter dollar from the United States, a seemingly humble piece of metal that, due to an almost imperceptible error, may just be one of the rarest, most valuable, and sought-after coins ever minted, prompting the mind-bending question, what if a small, unnoticed mistake during production turned this common quarter into $1 million treasure? Imagine the rush of discovering that an everyday pocket change item could be the key to a numismatic fortune, a thrilling possibility made real by a rare series of anomalies, minting irregularities, and jaw-dropping blunders that have captivated collectors, historians, and conspiracy theorists alike for over 5 decades, because hidden beneath the coin's worn surfaces lies a story of oversight, intrigue, and obsession that began in the Denver Mint in 1971, a time when the U.S. was adjusting to a rapidly evolving economy, phasing out silver content in coins, and battling internal production pressures that would unknowingly give rise to an object of immense fascination. The 1971D quarter, bearing the iconic Washington profile and a bold D mark beneath the date, was supposed to be just another clad coin with a copper core, replacing the silver compositions of yesteryear. But somewhere along the line, something went wrong. A forgotten silver planchet from an earlier run, a mismatched die alignment, or even a rogue experiment in metal testing resulted in a coin that defied all numismatic expectations, and suddenly, the humdrum quarter transformed into a high-stakes enigma, with a few examples weighing more than they should, others producing an unusual ring when dropped, and still others showing double-struck errors, missing clad layers, off-center impressions, or ghostly details indicating the use of a retired or foreign die. But what makes this tale truly electrifying is that no one at the time noticed, no official records were kept, and the mint's documentation from that year is filled with gaps, misprints, and contradictions, leading some experts to believe this wasn't just a fluke but the result of deeper systemic chaos or even covert experimentation. and as collectors decades later began to stumble upon these strange variations through estate sales, forgotten hoards, and changed jars left untouched for generations, whispers of the phantom silver 1971 quarter began to echo through the numismatic world, sparking feverish speculation. Was it struck on a leftover silver planchet meant for a 1964 issue? Was it a transitional error never meant to leave the mint? Or could it be a clandestine mint worker's creation, made during a midnight shift and smuggled into circulation like a modern-day relic of rebellion? The possibilities are as thrilling as they are endless, and with only a minuscule number of these anomalies confirmed by professional grading services, their scarcity has elevated them to mythical status, with collectors paying staggering sums for even lightly circulated examples and experts issuing public calls for anyone who suspects they might unknowingly possess one to come forward. And then came the bombshell. In a 2019 auction, a verified 1971 quarter with anomalous weight, brilliant luster, and partial silver composition shattered expectations by fetching a six-figure sum, igniting a frenzy among enthusiasts and leading to renewed investigation into Denver's 1971 output, where one former mint employee came forward with a shocking claim that during early production runs, a miscommunication with the planchet suppliers may have resulted in a batch of pre-1965 silver blanks being mixed into the modern clad batches, a theory both sensational and terrifying, as it implies the U.S. government may have unknowingly distributed a handful of silver quarters a full 6 years after their official discontinuation, and yet, without paper trails or mint logs to corroborate the story, the coin's existence itself becomes the proof, a silent testament to a moment in history when chaos and routine collided, giving birth to a masterpiece of unintended consequence. And just when the community thought they had seen it all, another twist unraveled. A collector from Ohio discovered a sealed roll of uncirculated 1971 quarters that, upon inspection, included one with no copper core visible on its rim, a pristine strike, and abnormal reflectivity consistent with silver alloy, and as metallurgical tests confirmed the impossible, over 90% silver composition, the numismatic world was sent reeling, questioning whether this was an isolated error or if a small but measurable batch had slipped through unnoticed, making every 1971 quarter in the wild a potential golden ticket. Or rather, a silver one, and sparking obsessive coin hunts across the country, with stories pouring in of retirees finding suspect coins in coffee cans, young collectors discovering off-struck anomalies in old family collections, and pawn shops unknowingly holding these hidden gems in their junk drawers, all culminating in a modern-day treasure hunt driven by obsession, fueled by the very real possibility that a few dozen, or perhaps just a few, of these miraculous mistakes are still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered by someone with a keen eye and the courage to believe that a simple quarter could change their life. And throughout this unfolding drama, theories only deepen. Some suggest the error was not an accident at all but a deliberate act by mint insiders protesting the transition away from precious metals, embedding their defiance into the coinage itself like a secret signature of rebellion, while others believe it was a test run for silver-clad commemorative issues that never saw the light of day. And then there are those who point to parallel errors from the same year, 1971 Kennedy $50 struck on silver planchets, Eisenhower dollars with bizarre die varieties, and Roosevelt dimes exhibiting unexpected metal contents, painting a picture of widespread confusion or experimentation within the mint system, a perfect storm for anomaly. And each of these threads loops back to the 1971 quarter, the most humble of denominations. Now enshrined in mystery, its story a mirror reflecting not just numismatic quirks but the very human elements of error, secrecy, and discovery, where every twist unveils new questions and every answer only deepens the mystery, pulling in not just collectors but historians, chemists, conspiracy theorists, and everyday dreamers into a narrative that refuses to be neatly explained or tied off, growing more enticing with each new find, each surprise auction result, each tantalizing whisper of a coin too heavy, too shiny, too perfectly wrong to be anything but extraordinary. And if this story has you on edge, eyes darting to your own change jar, heart pounding at the thought that you could be the next lucky soul to hold this legendary mistake, then know this: the 1971 quarter dollar is no longer just a coin, it is a symbol of what happens when precision falters, when the unexpected slips through the cracks of a system designed for perfection, and when, against all odds, a forgotten fragment of metal becomes the focal point of a decades-long hunt for truth, value, and vindication, so don't look away, don't stop searching, because the greatest numismatic mystery of our time might just be sitting in your pocket, and if you're as captivated by this tale as we are, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because we're just getting started unraveling the untold secrets of America's hidden coin treasures. Next, 1981_D $quarter. What if a small, almost invisible mistake, a barely detectable deviation during production, transformed an ordinary piece of metal into the most valuable coin ever struck, a coin so elusive and mysterious that even seasoned numismatists question its very existence, yet when it surfaces, it sends shockwaves through the collecting world, rewriting everything we thought we knew about minting precision, government oversight, and the true boundaries of value. This is the story of the 1981 $quarter, a coin born in the shadows of routine minting, yet propelled into legendary status by a series of bizarre, unpredictable, and almost unbelievable events that have turned it into one of the most sought-after and debated treasures in American numismatic history. And as we pull back the curtain on this enigma, prepare to plunge headfirst into a tale of extraordinary minting errors, ghostly anomalies, and a drama so rich with intrigue that it has driven collectors to obsession and researchers to the edge of conspiracy, because it all begins with a production run that was supposed to be unremarkable, just another year, just another Denver minted quarter, another issue in the long line of Washington quarters struck since 1932, but somewhere in that high volume, mechanical rhythm of the Denver Mint, a mistake happened, a flaw so rare, so unique, that it gave birth to a small number of quarters that would go unnoticed for decades, hiding in plain sight in change jars, pocketbooks, vending machines, and perhaps even tossed away, until one day, a sharp-eyed collector spotted something odd, something that didn't belong, something impossible, a quarter with an off-center strike and doubled die that defied standard minting practices, and that discovery ignited a wildfire of speculation. Because how could such an egregious error make it past quality control in an era of increasingly sophisticated minting machinery and tighter production protocols, especially at a mint like Denver known for its precision? And yet, the anomalies weren't just about off-center strikes. No, reports started pouring in about coins with multiple clash marks, ghost lettering, and in one chilling instance, a quarter struck on a transitional planchet from a previous year's composition. A shocking revelation suggesting that leftover blanks from the late 1970s somehow made their way onto the press lines in 1981, a breach of protocol so serious that some insiders whispered of a deliberate cover-up, perhaps the work of a rogue employee or a mint worker with a collector's mind who slipped these flawed coins into circulation as a message or a challenge to future numismatists. And as more of these bizarre specimens were unearthed, a pattern began to emerge, but it wasn't consistent, not predictable like typical minting varieties. No, it was sporadic, almost chaotic, as if the minting gods had toyed with the Denver presses that year, producing coins with misaligned dies, rotated reverses, missing mint marks, and even doubled eagles on the reverse that hinted at die reusage or undocumented experimental presses. And with each new find, the value soared, not just monetarily, though some sold for over $15,000 at auction, but in mythos, as stories began to spread of collectors trading entire sets just to own a single 1981 D-era quarter, of dealers who traveled cross-country following vague leads and rumors, of coins disappearing after auctions under strange circumstances, and even of a notorious counterfeit ring that tried, and failed, to replicate the unique flaws in order to cash in on the frenzy, only to be caught when microscopic metallurgical analysis revealed compositional traces inconsistent with the 1981 minting specifications, adding yet another layer to the mystery. And then came the archival deep dives. Numismatists scouring government records, Freedom of Information Act requests pouring into the U.S. Mint, and what they found only added fuel to the fire, because several internal memos from late 1980 and early 1981 referenced an equipment failure in Denver's quarter production line, one that required a temporary die substitution and a manual override of the planchet feed, a situation ripe for anomalies but, curiously, completely omitted from public reports. And some believe those memos point to a brief window, perhaps only hours, when flawed or experimental dies were used, producing a batch of quarters with subtle but value-altering differences, coins that were immediately mixed into regular circulation without documentation, and while the mint maintains these were minor incidents of no long-term consequence, retired employees have spoken off the record, describing tense meetings, shredded logs, and an unspoken directive to move on from that week's anomalies. All of which points to something more significant than simple human error, and as collectors scoured eBay, coin shows, and estate sales, more variants began to appear, not many, but enough to keep the mystery alive. Coins with type 1 reverses on type 2 obverse, coins with unusual rim doubling, some exhibiting copper cores when they shouldn't, leading to wild theories that perhaps some 1981 quarters were struck on leftover experimental planchets from 1979, or even from foreign mint contracts, which the U.S. Mint occasionally executed, and while these sound outrageous, the physical evidence is compelling. X-ray fluorescence scans of certain error specimens show trace elements inconsistent with standard clad compositions, sparking a fringe theory that the Denver Mint briefly tested alternate materials in 1981, possibly for cost-saving reasons or as part of a classified Cold War contingency involving coinage metals in the event of a copper or nickel embargo, and while no official confirmation exists, the circumstantial evidence has driven collectors into frenzy, sending prices sky-high for coins with even the faintest signs of deviance from standard specifications, and amidst this chaos, legends were born, one of a janitor who found a pristine double-die 1981 quarter behind a vending machine in an abandoned government building and auctioned it off anonymously for a six-figure sum, another of a widow who unknowingly used an ultra-rare off-metal strike to pay for parking in the mid-90s. The coin never recovered, and one particularly persistent tale of a mint tour attendee who pocketed a rejected quarter from the discard bin, a coin now believed to be the only known specimen with a triple-struck obverse, though its whereabouts remain unknown, and these stories aren't just lore, they're breadcrumbs in a larger narrative of hidden value, accidental creation, and systemic oversight that makes the 1981 quarter not merely a collectible, but a portal into America's minting psyche, an object that reflects both the mechanical perfection we strive for and the glorious imperfection we secretly revere, because in those mistakes lie stories, and in those stories lie fortunes, and today, the hunt continues with new discoveries emerging from unlikely places, old piggy banks, forgotten coin rolls, flea market boxes, each potentially harboring the next multi-million-dollar mystery, and as you hold a 1981 quarter in your hand, ask yourself, is it just 25 cents? Or is it a silent witness to a moment of minting madness, a glitch in the matrix of currency, a treasure hiding in plain sight waiting for someone like you to uncover its secrets? So before you spend it or pass it by, take a closer look. You might just be holding a piece of history, a key to one of the greatest unsolved stories in numismatics, and if you've enjoyed this deep dive into the untold saga of the 1981 quarter and want to be the first to learn about the next rare coin that could change your life, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our community of treasure hunters who know that sometimes the smallest coins hold the biggest secrets. Next, 1996 quarter, where today we unravel a mystery so deep, so emotionally gripping, and so financially staggering that it might forever change the way you see the coins in your pocket, because what if a small, barely visible mistake on a seemingly ordinary 1996 quarter made it the most valuable coin ever struck in the United States Mint's history? Imagine holding in your hand what millions have overlooked, a forgotten piece of metal that carries a secret only a few dare to believe, a hidden fortune that could lie buried in a jar on your shelf or forgotten in an old vending machine tray, a quarter that was never meant to exist, yet somehow survived. A ghost minted in error and born in silence during a time when the U.S. Mint faced unprecedented pressure to churn out billions of coins amid economic flux, all while trying to hide the flaws in its system, flaws that would ultimately lead to one of the greatest numismatic enigmas of the modern era, because the 1996 quarter is not just another piece of currency, it is a window into a deeper conspiracy of mishandled dies, misaligned presses, planchets that weren't meant for quarters, and phantom coins that vanished before they were ever catalogued. And when one of these error specimens appeared at a private auction and shattered all expectations with a jaw-dropping six-figure bid, the coin world was shaken to its core, and suddenly questions arose that had no easy answers. Was it a one-off fluke or part of a suppressed run, a misfeed of dime planchets into quarter presses, or a rare case of double denomination error so perfectly struck it seemed intentional, as if someone inside the mint was sending a message? And what about the rumors of a reverse design so faint it appears ghosted, legends of extra clad layers peeling off like secrets trying to escape, or the chilling tale of a Philadelphia mint worker who anonymously leaked that an experimental alloy test was performed in 1996 using quarter dies, a test that was scrapped and never spoken of again, but left behind a handful of survivors, oddities in weight, color, and strike that make metal detectors scream with anomalies, drawing collectors like moths to a flame. Imagine the obsession, the sleepless nights spent poring over coin rolls, the secret online forums where only insiders whisper of the markers to look for, the shifted P mint mark, the doubled eagles, the eerie flatness of the date, and the way the ridges sometimes seem to vanish like whispers in the dark, all while government databases maintain eerie silence about these errors, fueling suspicions of cover-ups, accidental releases, and a numismatic black hole that has swallowed entire production records, leaving only the stories of those lucky, or cursed, enough to have found one and realized too late they let it slip through their fingers for a mere 25 cents. Now picture this, a Florida garage sale, a dusty coin tray, an elderly widow unaware that the strange quarter her husband set aside in 1996 and labeled, "Keep Safe," would later be verified by top graders as one of only 3 known struck on a Canadian nickel planchet with a reverse die clash and lamination peel, a specimen so rare it defied classification and led PCGS to invent a new subgrade just to house it in their database, while collectors flooded forums demanding answers, theories erupting like wildfire, from Cold War espionage to experimental coinage swaps between mints, all while the price skyrocketed with each new clue, and every numismatist worth their salt began re-evaluating their 1996 P quarters, turning over what was once common change into potential treasure, with TikTok videos sparking millions of views, coin shops seeing a surge in demand, and experts like Q. David Bowers speculating that this could be the tip of an iceberg, a rare category of coins produced during a specific week in March 1996 when the Philadelphia Mint underwent an undocumented die swap due to an internal error flagged by quality control but ultimately ignored due to pressure from top officials to meet production quotas, creating a situation ripe for overlapping dies, blank planchets, and even transitional metal usage, and when one of these error coins made its way into a Smithsonian appraisal session, the reaction from curators was one of stunned silence before they politely declined to comment, fueling even more theories that the government is aware of these coins and quietly acquiring them to prevent market chaos, and as collectors race against time to locate the remaining few, stories continue to surface, like the man in Ohio who found one sealed in a time capsule from his late father, or the woman in Oregon who received hers in change at a gas station and only discovered its worth after an accidental Reddit post led to a viral frenzy, and still, the deeper we dig, the more tangled the web becomes. Did the mint truly produce a limited number of quarters in 1996 using leftover planchets from foreign contracts? Was there an internal sabotage or an unsanctioned test run for a new design never approved by Congress? And why did certain error coins seem to exhibit magnetic properties inconsistent with standard clad composition, leading metallurgists to suspect experimental cores, or worse, deliberate tampering? These mysteries converge on a single point in time, a single coin, the 1996 P quarter, and the stakes could not be higher because with each new discovery, its value grows, its legend deepens, and the chance that one might still be out there, in your drawer, your change jar, or forgotten behind a couch cushion, becomes more tantalizing, more haunting, and more real. So if you thought treasure hunting was a thing of the past, think again, because this is not just a story about a quarter, it's about the cracks in the system, the hidden histories buried in plain sight, the emotional roller coaster of finding meaning in metal, and the wild, relentless pursuit of the one coin that breaks all the rules, the 1996 P quarter that became the stuff of legends. And if you've made it this far into the story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell because next time, we'll be diving into another unbelievable coin mystery that might just be sitting in your pocket right now. So compelling, so packed with unexpected twists and unanswered questions, that it threatens to rewrite everything we thought we knew about modern coinage, because what if a small, nearly invisible minting error on the 2021 D quarter made it not only the rarest coin of the decade but potentially the most valuable coin ever struck by the US Mint? And what if this coin's origin story involved overlooked die varieties, clandestine production, Moments at the Denver Mint, government oversight failures, and whispers of an ultralimited batch accidentally released into circulation before anyone realized what had been done. This isn't just a story of a quarter, it's a tale of obsession, of collectors who've spent months tracing the patterns of coin rolls across the Rocky Mountain region in hopes of discovering a version of the 2021 D quarter that seems to defy the known laws of numismatics. A coin that some swear features a double die reverse so precise yet so subtly misaligned that it escaped the mint standard error screening, and now only a handful of examples are rumored to exist in private collections, with others perhaps still sitting quietly in jars, drawers, or parking meters across the country, waiting to be found, and the mere possibility of its existence has ignited fierce debates on numismatic forums, with respected experts both denying and defending its reality. Could this be a myth born of collective desire, or the greatest overlooked minting mistake of the modern era? To understand the full scope of this enigma, we have to rewind to the turbulent events of 2020 and 2021, when the pandemic forced operational shifts at every level of mint production, with staffing limitations, equipment delays, and last-minute design approvals all converging in an environment ripe for errors. And insiders who once dismissed rumors are now stepping forward anonymously to suggest that a critical oversight in die calibration occurred during a rushed production batch in late January 2021, possibly leading to a unique obverse anomaly only detectable under magnification, an anomaly involving the subtle doubling of the Washington profile, a misalignment in the E pluribus unum inscription, and a microscopic crack that runs across the lower field of the coin's reverse like a scar on a secret no one was meant to discover. And the trail of this mystery leads us through a tangled web of mint shipment logs, interviews with retired quality assurance inspectors, and collectors who claim to have encountered strange variations but were dismissed by grading services, only for one rare coin to emerge, authenticated and graded at an unprecedented MS-70 with an unusual die break pattern and mechanical doubling, selling at a private auction for an amount rumored to exceed $750,000. Sparking an explosion of interest and a second wave of obsessive roll hunting unlike anything seen since the 1955 double-die Lincoln cent. But what makes this quarter so profoundly strange is that no two known error examples are exactly alike, suggesting the possibility of a transitional die event, or worse, that an entire shipment of experimental coins never meant for release somehow made it into public hands, and stories began surfacing of collectors buying standard quarter rolls from small-town banks only to find one coin with a ghostly shadow behind the date, or a missing mint mark, or even more bizarrely, a planchet composition that appears to include nickel-silver alloy inconsistent with official mint specifications, which has led some to believe that the 2021 D quarter may have been produced using leftover materials from an abandoned experimental program dating back to early 2000s, a theory supported by a leaked internal document referencing a non-standard clad inventory being circulated in error, and if true, this would mean the coin is not only a misstrike, but potentially an off-metal error of a class so rare that it could command seven figures in future auctions, making even well-worn examples worth fortunes, and sparking a frenzy that has seen coin dealers offering up to $10,000 just to inspect suspected specimens under electron microscopes, with rumors now swirling that a major grading agency may be sitting on several confidential submissions pending further metallurgical analysis, and the psychological toll of this mystery is palpable, with collectors describing sleepless nights, driving hundreds of miles to visit rural banks, or spending thousands on unsearched quarter boxes in hopes of uncovering what some now call the ghost strike, a term whispered with reverence and fear, because the coin's very existence challenges the credibility of modern minting oversight and raises questions about how many other legendary errors have slipped through unnoticed. Could this be the beginning of a new era of high-value modern coinage, or is it a singular anomaly, a perfect storm of human error, mechanical imperfection, and historical circumstance, destined to be studied for generations and valued like a relic of mythic significance? The excitement only intensifies when stories emerge of a collector in Texas discovering two coins with identical die cracks but different edge reads, possibly indicating mid-production die swap confusion, while another in Montana claims to have submitted a coin with a partial collar strike, date doubling, and a rim cut that, if authenticated, would make it the most complex modern mint error ever recorded on a quarter. And yet, despite growing evidence, the mint has issued no official statement. fueling wild theories ranging from intentional sabotage by a disgruntled employee to a botched secret test of a new dye system that was quietly buried under the weight of bureaucracy, and every new piece of evidence only deepens the mystery, as if the coin itself is an unsolvable riddle, a key to a hidden chapter in mint history that someone, somewhere, never wanted us to find. And perhaps that is the true heart of the 2021 D-Quarter story, a tale not only of monetary value or mechanical error, but of human curiosity, the eternal hunger to discover something overlooked, to hold in our hand a piece of metal that carries within it the fingerprint of history, the echo of a moment when everything went slightly wrong, or perfectly right, and transformed a 25-cent piece into a modern-day treasure map. And as we peel back the layers, we must ask ourselves, how many more are out there, hiding in plain sight? And who among us will be the next to stumble upon a coin that was never meant to exist, a piece of silent chaos minted in steel and clad, carrying with it the whispers of the unknown and the promise of fortune, mystery, and legacy beyond imagination? So if you want to be the one who finds it, keep searching, keep asking, and above all, keep watching, because the mystery of the 2021 D-Quarter is just beginning to unfold, and the next twist might be hiding in the very next pocketful of change. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the treasure you seek might already be in your hands.